Hey everyone, welcome to Mixlife, round 2 of our Flavorah reviews. I got Rick and Chris DVR here with me, and
Sorry about the delay last week, but there was all sorts of life popping off. It was a disaster.
right. So for those of you that don't know, I work in the caregiving industry, and the client that I was taking care of had to go to the emergency room, and when that happens, I can't hand off custody to another uh, staff member or nurse until they've been officially admitted. So I have to go through the entire emergency process until they're either admitted or discharged. And it happened right at the end of my shift, like an hour before I was supposed to leave. So I ended up not getting home until like 5 in the morning that day.
I just told Sin that you had your beard stuck in a meat grinder.
Yeah, I mean that's also I mean that's basically true. In like a kind of whatever, I was stuck.
In a very philosophical way. Very true.
Yeah, so more Flavorah flavors. Again, we will do the disclaimer. We have been paid not much to attend a conference by Flavorah. We know these people, so take that as you will, but we plan on giving you our unvarnished opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So I honestly, so today we're going to cover desserts, additives, and tobaccos. I think the largest portion of the show today will probably be about tobaccos and not the others, and only really in so much as that I don't really fuck with desserts very much, so I just don't have a lot to say with them. I tested them all and tried them, and we'll go through them real quick. But I just don't do a lot of desserts or bakeries. It's just not really my thing. I have a handful of these that I really use more than once or twice, and then that's pretty much like it. But I have pretty extensive experience with tobaccos. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
Yeah, we can start with dessert. Again, we're just kind of like running off the website right now. So, Chris, if you have anything to interject, please, for all intents and purposes, interject. But I want to start with apple filling. It tastes like the inside of a damn McDonald's apple pie, and it's pretty uncanny.
Yeah, it's actually one of the ones that I was most excited about talking about dessert wise. I think honestly, it's my favorite like bakery / dessert flavor of theirs. It's like a super good apple pie filling, and I get that like that syrupy sick sweetness, a little bit of cinnamon, maybe like a faint back taste of like not dry fucking nutmeg.
Yeah, and like the texture is kind of a good or a bad thing because like it does have that super accurate kind of gelatinous molten apple pie interior thing. But one of the things I've seen it do in recipes where the flavor profile fits, the texture kind of makes everything a little bit too soft and sticky. So you kind of got to account for how accurate and I guess pervasive that texture is. But it's a spot on apple pie filling.
It's really difficult to build a pie crust around because of that, right? Like it's a really stellar apple filling flavor, but I think it's really difficult to make it work in a pie because of how like moisturized it seems, right? Like it demolishes crust profiles.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it gets tricky. It's like you can make an apple pie milkshake with it pretty easy, but if you're gonna make a pie, you're gonna be fucking with it forever.
Yeah, it also is really, really, really stellar in tobaccos.
Yes, it is.
So there's that. So for those of you that are tobacco fans, it is an excellent choice for tobacco stuff.
You guys nailed it. Apple pie filling. McDonald's. It's perfect.
Berry cheesecake it's not bad, but it's kind of unremarkable. Otherwise,
Yeah.
It's a good cheesecake, and it's got like a fair bit of like berryness going on with it. I didn't get a lot of crust that I recall.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed a little indistinct for me. I think I kind of wanted it bigger and trashier than it ended up being. Blueberry muffin, though, is kind of a horrible flavor and also an amazing flavor because it's the best baked blueberry, but there isn't really a muffin in there, and also it's on the weak side for a Flavorah flavor.
Yeah.
Price point, it's not great. Yeah, it either works or it doesn't, right?
I think it's one of my favorite blueberries. And it's definitely got like a cooked blueberry vibe to it, but I definitely don't get any muffin whatsoever. If they would have just changed it to like baked blueberry and not blueberry muffin, I would have been much happier.
Well, and made it about twice as strong. That would be cool too.
Yeah. Well, as I understand it, they don't dilute it, so they don't do dilutions. So I think that that's pretty much just where it came from the source, right?
Yeah, like it's kind of untenable financially, I guess, but like I've used it up to 5%. And it tastes good at 5%. It's just like that's not necessarily where I'd like to see the concentration line up on it, but it's a good baked blueberry.
Yeah, really good. Brulee. Have you fucked with brulee?
A little bit, but it has been quite a while. I think it was a little dry and a little weird for me.
It was, to me, it's more like the cracked part of the top of brulee, right? When you first crack it and you get that burnt sugar, right? The burnt like caramel sugar right on the top.
Sugar.
The caramelized sugar right on the top of it when you first crack it with a spoon, right? You get those little chunks on the top, but it's kind of dry. But I don't get much of the creamy part of the creme brulee at all. So, Alfred, Mr. Pudding, congratulations on your nomination prize thingy the other day, Alfred. I don't know if you guys actually got cool shit or not.
I didn't get shit, so
it's all good. Still, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to everybody. We all love each other. Okay, so Flavorah's bubblegum is okay.
It's a decent, reasonable pink bubblegum.
Yeah, it's definitely a pink bubblegum. It's not gonna like magically turn other things into a bubblegum. It's if you need a pink bubblegum flavor, it's pretty good. It's fairly strong.
I get a bit of fade from it over time, and it goes a little chalky for me, but it's still good and it's workable.
Bubblegum's a bakery? I'm confused.
It's a dessert.
It's a dessert.
Dessert. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're. It's really just the burnt sugar, like cracked topping part, not so much the actual cream from it. Butterscotch. It's a good, reasonable, like kind of runny butterscotch, right? So like more like fresh, wet butterscotch, and not like a Werther's.
Not like
I think it's a fantastic butterscotch. It just needs help. You gotta pair it up with a caramel, FA caramel or something, to really get it to that gooey butterscotch point.
Yeah, I don't get like a hard candy butterscotch out of it. But it's a good like freshly made butterscotch or butterscotch syrup kind of thing. I really like. But like I said, like I don't use most of this stuff all the time.
Candy roll is like a really good sub for that kind of like sweet tart flavor. I think like candy roll by itself is a whole lot more pleasant than Flavor West sweet tart or TPA sweet tart or whatever. It's like
shut your mouth.
It's a better flavor if you're vaping on its own. It's a little bit more distinct though. It's a little bit harder to like bend around, but I like candy roll.
No, I like candy roll. It's another one that I was kind of excited to talk about on this list because it's really cool. To like mimic sweet tarts, and it takes to fruits pretty well, so that you can do like a lemon or strawberry or what the fuck ever, blackcurrant. I like it with blackcurrant a lot.
Of course you like it with blackcurrant, you fucking degenerate.
Well, I like blackcurrant, motherfucker. That's that. You want to fight? Let's fight.
Let's do this. Let's do this, man.
Caramel, right? Again, to me, it kind of fits the same texturally as their butterscotch. It's a good like caramel syrup, but I don't get like a harder caramel candy from it.
Dave, I think, has called it Flavorah brown sugar. I don't know, and I'm kind of on that boat. I think it kind of tastes like brown sugar. I mean, it's good. It's just
like freshly made caramel should taste kind of like brown sugar.
Yeah, it can get a little bit soapy at higher percentages by itself too, but
I don't think I've ever pushed it over like 0.5% or 1%.
Well, you're obviously not as dumb as I am, so that's fine. It gets a little soapy.
I haven't had any reason. Like, I just don't fuck with caramel. It's just not my thing. It's good, though. I mean, it's a good caramel. It's reasonable. Cheesecake. It's a decent cheesecake body. I get less crust from it than the other cheesecakes.
It's another one of those things that isn't quite trashy enough for me. It's a little too refined, a little too pinkies out.
It is fancy. It's not a bad cheesecake body. You got to really kind of. I didn't get that much from it at 2%. I felt like I needed to push it higher, but I wasn't daring enough. Maybe if I just push this way higher, but I just didn't. So that's my bad. But I don't have any use for it. Chocolate Deutsch.
Excellent flavor, very specific profile.
Absolutely. I love chocolate Deutsch. It's one of the few chocolate flavors that I actually like to vape because it's really fantastic chocolate. Excellent. Doesn't completely ruin your coils the first 3 hours, but it is a little rough on them. But there is like absolutely no way to cover up the coconut and cherry in it. You can't do it. I tried. It doesn't happen. It doesn't bend or blend. Like it stands out. It's chocolate Deutsch all the fucking time, and you're not getting around it.
Shindo actually has that Black Forest Bacca recipe with it, which is, I guess, the only time I've tasted it and not immediately thought, hey, that kind of tastes more like chocolate cake than anything else. But great flavor, just hard to kind of bend to your own wills. But if you need a chocolate cake flavor with some coconut, fuck it.
Yeah, but it's definitely a really, really excellent chocolate. Probably one of the best representations of chocolate in the industry, if you ask me.
The only time I've tried to use it was making a Samoa. I think the cherry flavor definitely.
The cherry's fairly
recipe.
The coconut's really the big killer. Like you cannot get around that coconut. But if it's part of the profile, then it works out pretty well.
Cinnamon Crunch is pretty spot the fuck on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good like cinnamon like crunch. It's got a bit of grain, a bit of cereal funk to it. I think it's pretty good. Again, not really my jam, but I know it's pretty popular. I know a lot of folks like it.
Yeah, it has a really good bakery cinnamon note to it. There's some actual texture. It really does kind of taste like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's really cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. Cinnamon roll. Maybe I was just raised
that mushroom vibe from it at all.
No, I don't get it from that one. That one's crunch cereal is the mushroom.
Yeah, the crunch cereal, I get that funky kind of earthiness from it.
Yeah, crunch cereal and their tricks. I don't even think I tested their cinnamon crunch. I have to give that one a try.
Their coffee is a pretty reasonable, shitty cup of coffee. That sounds mean to say, but I mean, it's just coffee, right? I don't know what they were using in the extraction process or whatever, but I get like a roasted like gas station / Folgers coffee out of it. It's not bad. It's coffee.
It isn't super skunky, but it kind of pushes towards cocoa for me, like dark cocoa instead.
Really?
Yeah,
I kind of get the popcorn vibe off of it.
I don't get nearly as much of the popcorn vibe as I do off some of the other coffees, but it also like tastes a lot like cocoa to me, and I guess I have some overlap in terms of how I taste those because I get a lot of like play between coffee and cocoa flavors.
I don't get so much cocoa from it, but I don't know. For me, coffee is kind of an unremarkable thing, and the thing I don't like is what coffee does to my atomizers and my wicks. Like, no matter who makes it, you can't get it out. Right? You have to rebuild your atomizer after you're done with it because you're never gonna get rid of it. The cookie was, it was a cookie. I don't know. I haven't really fucked with it very much. Did you use it very much?
I think I tested it and then didn't do much with it because it didn't really have like the textural element that I was thinking that it was going to as like a sub for something like FA cookie or even like Cap sugar cookie. Their cookie dough was interesting to me. It didn't taste a lot like cookie dough. It had like some really like interesting kind of like mapley caramel kind of overtones to it. And I think it's a good flavor. It just didn't remind me much of cookie dough.
Oh, I have to agree. I really like cookie dough, but it doesn't taste like cookie dough to me. I think it's a cool flavor, but I don't get the dough specifically from it.
Their cotton candy's workable, I guess, if that's what you're into. It tastes like a little bit more than just straight ethyl maltol. It's fairly heavy on the vanilla, kind of has some of the texture. It's a decent cotton candy flavor.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Cream is cool. Their cream is really cool because it's a really good representation of like actual heavy cream.
Yeah, it is definitely one of my favorite creams out there.
But lightly sweetened, like almost to the point where somewhere between like heavy cream and like coffee creamer, like unflavored coffee creamer. But I think it's a really excellent cream. It can be layered in about 20 different ways. Rick had to step out.
You can like go the Frank's Red Hot sauce of
you can go
cream.
You can go eggier with it. You can go in custards. It can go in bakeries, it can go in fruits, it can go in fucking everything. Right? It's really versatile, really excellent. It's not too sweet and not too heavy. I think it's just perfect, right? You can blend it into cereal blends. I'm hard pressed to find something you can't. Anytime you need a cream, like I'm hard pressed to find a reason not to use Flavorah cream over anything else. Like it's just It's the perfect building block. It's not always the answer to every cream base you're ever going to use, but I guarantee that you can get anywhere else you want to be with it.
I feel like
it's not going to hurt anything. That's for sure.
I feel like it kind of softens and emulsifies, and that can, again, be a good thing or a bad thing.
I could see that, yeah. I mean, I've only really used it extensively in like kind of cream layers where that was kind of the goal anyways. So, but I haven't tried it as like I don't use it as a standalone cream very often.
Yeah, I kind of just use it as like, I don't necessarily reach for it when I want a cream flavor. I reach for it when I want to knock the edges off some hard bakeries in a cream flavor that works pretty well. But I'm not like the 18-layer cream guy either.
2 or 3. You know.
Yeah, 2 or 3. 18 layers. That's insane.
If I'm going for the single cream, it's almost always Flavorah West vanilla bean ice cream.
Hell yeah!
Easy mode. But it is a really excellent cream. Cream and cookies and cream. I feel like it's like a fairly taste-wise, or at least flavor-wise, it's like a fairly accurate, like kind of Oreo thing to it. Right, it's got a bit of that like chocolate crack, but I don't get a lot of cream out of it. Not the same cream, anyways. I don't get like a lot of cream out of it, but I get a bit of that like kind of like chocolate, chalky Oreo, crusty Oreo vibe from it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those flavors that I feel like I'd have to accent the chocolate and the cream, and then you kind of wonder about putting it in there.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel very, very full on its own. Like it's hard to profile, but I think it's a really good building block for cookies and cream for sure. I mean, if that's your thing, it's really not my thing.
Their creme de menthe tastes almost exactly like an Andes mint,
and it's really
creme
good.
De menthe is amazing.
I love that creme.
It's definitely chocolatey. It's much more chocolatey than like Flavorah West creme de menthe doesn't have any chocolate in it, but you can't get away from the chocolate. But it's a delicious flavor.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I pretty much only used exclusively used Flavorah West creme de menthe until I discovered Flavorah's. But it's really good. But yeah, the chocolate doesn't go away.
We should probably skim a little bit more and just hit some highlights. You want to do that?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Flavorah eggnog is absolutely delicious. Has a pretty good texture. Has a really good nutmeg note. We're kind of out of eggnog season, but it is wonderful.
For sure. It's good. I really like it. I think next on the list that stands out for me is granola. I had a brief love affair where I didn't vape anything but granola for like 3 weeks when they first sent us the betas before they did the release. Like I went fucking bonkers for that granola flavor. It tastes like soaked granola. It's not fresh or like crisp, but it's got a really good like deep oaty granola vibe to it. I think it's pretty stellar. I don't know what you think about it or if you even tried it.
I only did the initial batch on testing, and I kind of didn't figure out how to work with it.
I think I just did like 1.5% with like 1% cream, and then just went for it, like just like that.
Okay. So that's Koppel's official guidance on the ways of granola: 1.5% for granola and 1% cream, and just go for it. Yeah. I actually kind of want to shout out their fire cinnamon. I feel like it isn't mentioned a whole lot, but it is a cinnamon that isn't a like bakery cinnamon, and it's not like a red hot candy cinnamon. It's kind of just like
Fireball, man.
It's
Without
like
whiskey.
It's like big red cinnamon by itself. It's kind of cool.
No, I really like. In fact, I don't think they did any other cinnamons badly.
Yeah.
I think that all of them worked out really well. The fire cinnamon's nice. It is kind of more difficult to incorporate it, I think, than the others, but I think it's just the nature of the profile, really, too.
Yeah. Their frosting also super, super solid. Good vanilla frosting, good body to it. fairly potent. Nothing, no like weird off flavors.
Yeah, for sure. Honeybee. I think it's probably the only workable honey if you can deal with the floral flavor in it, because it's the only honey that doesn't taste like cat piss or something else horrible to me.
I love the wildflower notes in that. It really is, but it is super strong. You definitely got it.
You want to use it like less than 0.15%, less than 0.25% for sure. And you're not going to get rid of that wildflower honey vibe to it. Like, it's not going to get covered up.
Yeah, it's a really good flavor, and I do like the floral quite a bit there. But yeah, it's not squeezed bear honey. It's a little funkier than that, but it's a delicious flavor.
Yeah, I think it's great. What do you want to do next?
I've done some screwing around with Lembas bread, which is an amazing name. Thank you very much. I'm sure that works out well. But Lembas bread is kind of like the missing half of Flavorah blueberry muffin. It's kind of like a sweet muffiny kind of bakery flavor. It doesn't have a ton of texture to it, but it does have that like kind of muffiny sweetness. I've had some fun working with that one.
I can't say I've tried it.
It's excellent. It's really good. I suggest picking it up. It's a really good like bakery base. You can add a lot to it, but it's good by itself too.
So, Christy Beer, extol the virtues of their maple bar, because I'm not 100% on board, but you seem passionate about it.
Yeah. This is all you, buddy.
I said at 3%. It's a workable maple bar. It's got a good maple frosting flavor. The donut, it's a little lacking. Could use some help. A little donut. I don't know. Zapola.
Need to pick up.
I tested it for the show, so I really haven't fucked around with it in a recipe as of yet.
Can I just interject that watching you in this lighting kind of feels like I'm watching an episode of Cops?
So I had to turn off the red light. I got snow.
It's all good.
I might actually have to dip out if it gets worse than this.
Yeah,
but by all means, dip out if you need to dip out, man.
It's really okay. We can hang. Like, if it's even remotely plausible that you should, do that. No question. So milk and honey was mentioned in chat, so we can just jump up to that, right? So milk and honey, I think, is a really good, like, I get like a decent hit of like cream to it, and the honey, it's not as floral. It's not even really honey to me. Like, it's more like, it's almost like caramel, right? Like,
yeah, I was thinking it's the dulce de leche flavor.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people claim a dulce de leche.
Yeah, so I get definitely the dulce kind of vibe to it.
More particular to jungle flavors, dulce de leche. So, but milk and honey, it definitely can go. It works. It's very usable.
Oh, we didn't do teas either. I'm actually pretty out of the loop on the teas. What do you want to do next, Rick? Real quick there, milk chocolate was my go-to replacement for Inawera's milk chocolate. It's pretty close to where Inawera's was. It's a reasonable milk chocolate if you're into chocolates. It's pretty workable. It's a little wetter. Almost like a Hershey's syrup kind of vibe to it than like a chocolate bar milk chocolate.
Their peanut butter is good, but it's dry. It doesn't really taste like peanut butter. It's kind of like Spanish peanuts by itself. It has a good amount of texture to it, but doesn't really hit the profile, but it's still an absolutely delicious flavor.
It's really, really good. Did you notice that it kind of suffers from some fading, or is it just me? It could just be olfactory fatigue.
Yeah. I haven't really noticed, but then again, I don't mix with it a ton, but I do like that kind of peanut note.
I think it's more usable than like TPA peanut butter, where it just turns to mud.
Yeah, definitely. Where are we at here? Peanut butter. Pound cake was, I don't know, reportedly really good, but I didn't get too much out of it, to be perfectly honest.
I've had my brain poisoned by vaping the sucrose or whatever in yellow cake.
It's true. Although I'm really more of a TPA vanilla cupcake guy overall. But you can't get the vanilla out of that. So you can't. like you're never going to get away from the frosting note in TPA's vanilla cupcake.
I will say about pound cake, it doesn't have that weird kind of anisey note that like Cap Yellow Cake does, or the FA cakes do. So I think it's a better yellow cake replacement if for some strange reason you don't want to vape poison.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the most reasonable replacement outside of like the good stuff. Pudding says bougie accent flavor.
Hey, bougie is good. Their red cinnamon is a very, very good cinnamon red hot flavor. It's spot on, but it's exactly a cinnamon red hot. So if you're in the market for that, it works.
Yeah, definitely.
Rich cinnamon is fantastic. It by far just changed the entire bakery cinnamon game. It is $12.49. It is worth every single penny. You can work with a 10% dilution and buy like one bottle, and you'll still have half of it left over when you die. So it is fantastic.
Yeah, it is really, really good. And it does last forever. I don't think I've ever gone over 0.25% in a recipe, or maybe 0.3%. Chris, I'm getting a lot of static from you, bud.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to dip out.
All right, man, that's cool.
Just take care, man.
Stay safe. I like their smoked butterscotch a lot, but it really reminds me of their original butterscotch, and I don't get a lot more like added smoked flavor to it, but it is nice.
It kind of tastes like their butterscotch with Blackfire, which I'm not opposed to.
No, yeah, it's good. I don't get as much smoke as people have mentioned. Maybe it's just a insensitivity to whatever they're using for the smoke, which is weird because Blackfire like blows my face off, right at like 0.25%. So I'm not sure what the vibe is there, but it's really good. I like it a lot.
It also seems a little bit like creamier to me than their normal butterscotch too. I don't know. I think it's a really great flavor. It's just it's kind of niche, and I don't usually develop a ton of tobaccos. But if you're developing tobaccos or RY4s or whatever, it is like kind of a shoe-in to have in there.
Yeah, no. If I was going to build like an RY4 or a butterscotch tobacco, that would definitely be where I go with it. Is there anything else on this page you want to hit?
Not really. Next page.
The red velvet is worth mentioning. If you're looking for a replacement for chocolate Deutsch, I get a pretty solid chocolate hit from it, and it's a decent cake body.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think so much of red velvet is about the fact it is garishly red, and so you just have like a kind of not very chocolatey cake.
But yeah, it's just like a kind of chocolate cake. Right.
And I didn't get much in the way of like cream cheese frosting or anything from it either. It just felt like the cake.
Yeah. If you're an anti-sucralose person, Flavorah sweetness might be worthwhile for you to look into. It's pretty potent. You don't quite get the sugar lips sweetness that you do off of sucralose, but I think it's overall better than erythritol or monk fruit by themselves. It's a proprietary blend, so I don't know entirely what's in it. Presumably it's a mixture of all of those things, but it does not fuck with your coils. It's a good sweetener. It's chill.
It doesn't really get like obnoxious candy sweet. It can get just a little bit weird with bakeries, but like if you're into fruits and like stuff that tastes a little bit more natural-ish, it works out really well.
And yeah, I don't think I've actually even ever tried it with a bakery because I don't do bakeries.
Thai chai. What do you think about that one?
I fucking love it. So, and I wrote a big thing about it too when I released my first recipe with it. And chai tea, whenever I've had it in the Middle East, most chai teas is made in a double boiler until it's like a concentrate, and then it's thinned with milk again. So it's like actual chai tea prior to having milk or something else put back into it is really, really, really thick, really heavy. And I think that Thai chai really hits that like ultra thickness. I feel like it kind of needs to be thinned out a little bit, but I really love it. It's not real heavy on the chai spice. Like TPA's chai spice is really just all fucking spice.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of like a decent kind of tannic tea note to it, but it's got some really interesting like kind of like a herbal blend to it, and a decent amount of like faint spice. I really love it.
I love their vanilla pudding.
I like
it is
It's a really good.
Like kind of the way that I mix with creams and stuff. Like I know that people like to layer stuff and their custards and all that other nonsense. I generally just grab like one thing that does what I want it to do for that component, and vanilla pudding ticks that box for me pretty much anytime I'm looking for like an actual pudding flavor. It could stand a little bit of extra work with it if you want it to be like satisfying by itself, but for like a pudding component, I enjoy it quite a bit.
To answer a question in chat real quick, does sweetness mute things? I have not noticed any significant muting while using sweetness. But again, like the sweetness levels are different than what you're going to apply with like sucralose and stuff. But I think it's a really good choice. Whipped cream and white chocolate. They're both pretty good representations of those things. It's got a decent like whipped cream flavor, but I don't get a lot of body out of whipped cream.
Their white chocolate is maybe a little dry. It doesn't necessarily have a ton of like cocoa butter kind of depth to it, but it does taste remarkably less musty than Flavor West white chocolate. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's just a matter of application. I think there's going to be some things that Flavor West works better for. And then for drier applications, I think that Flavorah is definitely better.
Oh, we could run through this specialty stuff really quick because I know there's some good crap in there.
Oh, yeah, there's some cool shit in here. It's only one page.
If you are a fan of any kind of clove flavor, just spend the damn money and buy Flavorah clove. It is amazing. It's dry. It's spicy. It is like the clove from a clove cigarette. It is fantastic. Dilute it to like a 10% dilution, and you're still going to need 1% of it, maybe in a recipe. Another expensive one, another one that's completely worth it. Absolutely.
It is terrifyingly strong. So definitely plan to dilute it if you're making small batches, because you're going to have a really hard time hitting that 0.01%, right? 0.1%.
Yeah. But it is dead on the exact clove you want for any kind of like drier tobacco recipe, and it will work a lot better than like any of the other cloves and bakeries and stuff like that. If you are a clove fan, buy Flavorah clove.
Yep. Greek yogurt. Did we have that before?
I don't think we've done that one before. It's pretty good. It's funky, but it's a Greek yogurt flavor. I've used it at small percentages to kind of add some funk back into other things.
I even like it as a standalone like yogurt base, right? So like in place of like Cap's, was it creamy yogurt or the other one? I don't know. But I think it's a really good Greek yogurt. I can push it up to 3 or 4% if you want to, but you don't have to. I think it's legit. It's a good yogurt. Did we hit? We can hit elderflower real quick if we want.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you hit elderflower.
So the thing is, like elderflower, which is one of my absolutely 100% very favorite flavors of all time. It can be cloyingly potent, but you can push it really high if you want to really fill it out. So down low, you're going to get a real kind of grandma's perfume cabinet kind of vibe from it. When you start pushing it up higher, for those of you who are into like fancy ass fucking cocktails, right? It really starts kind of filling into like the Saint Germain realm of elderflower liqueur. I don't get the boozy note from it, but that elderflower is absolutely unmistakable. It's really excellent flavor. If you're into florals at all, I think it's really worth it. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It's weird. It's fucking strange as hell, and I shouldn't enjoy it as much as it is. I do, because it does have like that definite like perfume like level of floral whatever, but it's fucking delicious.
It's bizarre and lovely, and thank you, Flavorah, for making elderflower.
Thank you, and send me more of it, Bryson.
Yeah, I still wish it tasted like Saint Germain, but for what it is, I do enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can build it into a pretty reasonable Saint Germain, but it would be nice if it just came that way, Bryson.
Their lemongrass is a super interesting flavor. So I know from way back in the day, Matt Digital was talking about using it in a bubblegum recipe. I've had it in Rin's Passion Tea. It's a little herbal. It's a little fruity. It's a little candied. It has some decent body to it. I don't know if it tastes a lot like actual, like straight up lemongrass, but it has a really interesting like candy sweetness to it.
It tastes kind of like lemongrass that's been prepared for like traditional like Thai desserts and stuff.
Yeah, it could be like a Thai dessert lemongrass.
Yeah, because it is sweet. It's not cloyingly sweet. It's like, but yeah, I think it's really good. It's really excellent. I used it in I don't know, it's in a tea recipe on one of my all the flavors things. It was one of the ones I sent to the Mixers Club, I think, way back in the day. Did we cover hops last week?
I don't know. Maybe we covered hops. We'll just cover hops again. If you need me to talk about hops, I've talked about hops absolutely everywhere else. It is the way and the truth. It is kind of bitter, kind of piney. It tastes almost exactly like hops. It's really good as a contrast up against brighter fruit. It brings some extra bitterness and body to it. Just gives a much more fulsome, satisfying vape experience. All hops, everything.
I was asking, Alaska Vapor asked what kind of booze is a Saint Germain. I was like, Saint Germain is the booze.
It's just a liqueur. It's an elderflower liqueur.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. I love hops. It's got a weird bitter vibe to it. I don't get like specific fresh hops from it, but it's good. I like it a lot.
It is the way and the light.
It is. And did you try their horchata?
Back in the day, yeah, I think
about horchatas, and I didn't really my thing.
It has a good bakery cinnamon note. It didn't seem to be kind of creamy enough for me, and it kind of ended up a little bit on the harsh side.
Makes sense. Wood spice
is spot the hell on to sandalwood. If you need a sandalwood flavor, it's ridiculously potent, and it tastes like sandalwood.
It tastes like sandalwood or cedar. I mean, I get a kind of a cedar vibe off of it, but I mean, I'm one of those weirdos that can smell the difference in woods. So there's that, right? If you're not one of those weirdos, it doesn't really matter. But it's good wood spice flavor. It goes really good at tobaccos, or if you're really fucking weird, you could crank it up high and just go full nog fucking champa on it, right?
Yeah. I mean, fuck it. If that's a flavor that you want, if you want that sandalwoody kind of like cedary flavor, it is a very good execution of a very niche flavor.
Yeah, it is pretty niche. I will lie there. We'll go with that. Their ice is reasonable, but I mean, you can get WS23 for half as much. So, sorry, Bryson. It's a good ice flavor, but agent.
Ice is one that didn't really work for me, and I've ran into some people it doesn't work for, and I've ran into some people that swear by it. So
yeah, no, and I know it's not just straight culotta. I think there might be like a blend of WS23 and WS5 and something else in there. Maybe culotta also, but I don't know. It's okay. It's not bad. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It just wasn't my thing, I guess. Brie cheese is pretty cool if you want to like add funky cheese to a cream or something like that, like a cheesecake, but do not vape at anything over 0.25% or you'll hate your life forever.
It's fine. It doesn't get like more like, I mean, obviously don't like
I vaped at a 2%. It was a really bad day.
Like it doesn't like the thing I like about brie cheese is that it's cheesy, but it doesn't taste particularly rancid. You know what I mean? Like if you really want a brie cheese flavor, you can crank it up a little bit more, but just know what you're kind of getting into. Like it doesn't break down and like end up tasting rancid if you crank it up a little bit too much. Like for as non-gross as a brie cheese flavor could be, it's actually done pretty well.
Hibatere asked if she got VT. They trained as a lager. I'm wondering if adding hops would fix it. I couldn't say because I never tried vape train's lager. I didn't get it when I got my last round of vape pain flavors. But if it's available at Bull City the next time I order, I'll pick it up and give it a try.
And if it tastes like warm, flat beer, adding some hops would probably help.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Yakima hops is a good flavor.
Yeah. Their ginger, you're a big ginger fan. Their ginger's a little sweeter and a little bit more mellow than some of the other gingers. It also isn't as like dry, which is kind of helpful.
It's really good, and I think it's really good for adding a bit of like the kind of like kick to cocktails because of the way it's kind of sweeter and not as aggressive. You can get it kind of backs up booze flavors like vodkas, like Big Train's vodka or any of the gins out there right now. I think it's a really good like kicker background to those kinds of cocktail flavors. Or if you're trying to build a ginger candy, like that's the way to go over like Flavor West ginger or was that Nature's Flavors?
Yeah,
NF ginger, which is like aggressively raw ginger root.
Their bourbon is a really good bourbon oak flavor, but it is mostly just sweet bourbon oak, and it doesn't have much actual body to it. It's a good as like a building block for that kind of bourbon char, but it doesn't have a ton of alcohol body to it.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of boost from it. Beer Nuts gets honorable mention for just being fucking weird.
It's legitimately salty. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's legitimately salty. It's also a huge bully. It was in one of Wayne's top recipes used in like a Snickers, which is kind of interesting. So I'm really glad it found a home in a recipe.
Yeah, definitely. It's fucking weird, but it is legitimately salty, and it's like the only legitimately salty vape flavor on the market. But that nut part is not non-negotiably part of it. You can't really get rid of it. And no, I don't get salt from saline. Like I've tried that. It doesn't. Saline just fucks up your coils. It doesn't do anything else. No offense to anybody else that believes otherwise, but I don't believe it. Like I don't taste any saltiness from saline.
Their basil is a much fresher basil than like FA Zen Garden. So if you're still trying to work fresh basil into something, I haven't come across a better option than that yet.
No, I think it's really good. It's an accurate representation. It is a little on the green, like vegetal, whatever side of it, right?
Yeah, it gets maybe a little bit swampy. I'd rather have something like nice and sharp, like Thai basil or like holy basil. This is like kind of slightly warm, sweet basil, but it's still miles ahead of FA Zen Garden for an actual like fresh basil flavor.
Yeah, no, it's really good. But yeah, it gets a little wet salad, I guess is a better way to whatever. Shout out to Carrot for tasting like a filthy carrot that you just pulled out of the garden.
I kind of like their popcorn, but I've been using it as like buttery notes in bakeries and kind of bending that one around. It doesn't remind me too much of actual popcorn, but it does have like a pretty good like buttery note that you can build off of with some extra dap if you really want to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool flavor. Morning mimosa. It's a good, weird prison wine kind of flavor.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate to prison wine. It gets a little dirty, which I mean, it's fine. It's kind of one of those things that you're going to want to bulk out with other flavors because by itself it can get a little bit funky. But it does have some good actual booziness to it. The orange note in it is good. They're coming out with their Brut champagne or Brut bubbly wine or something, which to me just tastes like morning mimosa without the orange. So that would be another option.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I like it. It's a cool flavor. Root beer. Did we not cover root beer before?
I don't know. Flavorah root beer is absolutely delicious. It's spicy. It's kind of creamy. It has like a little bit of like almost a foamy texture to it. It's a little bit on the weak side, like in terms of the price point. It works really well up between 3% and 5%, but it is also probably the best root beer flavor on the market. So
absolutely 100%. Like if you're a root beer person, like Flavorah is the one. And it edges out tasty puffs, but nobody buys fucking tasty puffs.
I'm still not sure they actually exist.
They do. I have some. The problem with tasty puffs is it's expensive and it's really weak. You have to use like 10%. So it doesn't really balance. And it's like $10 or $8, $7 for a 10 mil.
Okay, well the Flavorah root beer is a much better deal than that. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the rest of these are actually really cool, and I could spend a whole other show talking about them. But we're only down to 15 minutes. So,
okay, well, we're down to 15 minutes. Let's just run through them. Sugar Orchid, pretty good. Kind of like a powdery cherry blossom kind of vanilla flavor. It's interesting, right?
It goes chalky if you go up too high, though, really fast. It goes from like a really nice flavor at like 1% ish to like if you go to 1.5, it gets really chalky to me.
Smooth vanilla is ridiculously expensive. It is completely worth it if you mix for pod systems. It is a vanilla that will show up at a pod system in 1%. Screw the price point, but it is that good.
It is really good, and at 1% in a pod system, it's still really, really, really strong. It's a really good vanilla. And in a regular recipe, you can use it lower than 1/4% and still get a pretty solid hit of vanilla from it.
Yeah, like in a normal sub-ohm recipe, like, yeah, you don't have to go above 1/4%. So it is expensive, but it is good.
It is really good. Vanilla bean, I found less so. I like the vanilla bean, but not as much as their smooth vanilla.
It kind of reminded me of like a darker take on like a straight vanilla. Like it seemed like more of a vanilla enhancement. It's interesting to work with, but it doesn't quite jump out at me like smooth vanilla does.
Pretty much just Kennesaw soy and teas. I didn't fuck with the Kennesaw soy enough, but it kind of reminds me of like the exterior of Mochi ice cream.
Yeah.
Just that weird like crusting on the outside of it that's like kind of savory, but kind of not.
I think Fresh or Lonnie or something called it powdered peanut butter. Yeah, it's pretty much powdered peanut butter. Like it actually has like a really robust nutty taste to it. Worth fucking around with if that's in your profile at all.
Yeah, it's really good though. I think it's really delicious. Exactly, Jeff C. If you're diluting smooth vanilla at 10%, it's pretty cheap, right? It's the same as like Alpine strawberry. Teas, do you have any of the teas? Acai tea is the only one that I really like a lot.
Their black tea is good. It doesn't taste dirty, but it seems to have a jasmine note to it. Their acai tea, I think, is kind of aiming for more of a matcha style green tea. It's a little bit fruitier. Doesn't taste like fish, which kind of detracts from the matcha realism, but I think it's a pretty good, interesting option for a green tea that isn't like explicitly floral.
Yeah.
Their red tea is like a rooibos tea kind of flavor. It's a little bit earthier. It has like some nutty tones to it, but it still has like a warm tea body. I think it's done pretty well.
Good. And their green tea is decent. It's a better option than FE or TPAs, I think. But like any of the others, it still kind of suffers from some grassy weirdness.
Yeah, it gets a little minty too.
Yeah, definitely. And then crunch cereal and trick cereal, just don't buy them. They taste
mushrooms.
They taste like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Can we do tobacco for 10 minutes?
Yes, let's blast through.
We'll just hit the big ones. Red Burley. I mean, everybody probably watching right now knows how much the two of us use Red Burley a lot, right? It's like the perfect building block for just about everything else. It's like a nice, dark, sweet, slightly sweet, leathery tobacco. A decent hit of smokiness, but no funky, nasty ash. It's more like smelling fresh pipe tobacco.
It can pick up some like kind of nutty or cocoa tones to me when I use it, kind of where I don't need it.
If you push it up over 2%, you're going to get some peanut butter out of it. Like just straight peanut butter.
Apexified, you know what that is, son. That dandelion and burdock.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, I got it like that, yo.
It's really good though. And then like the natural pairing for that is to balance out and give it a little heavier tobacco kick is cured.
Yeah, and the cured is like you could use the cured by itself if you wanted to, but like it works as a really good accent to add some more like leathery, brighter notes too.
Definitely, because a lot of the really fantastically nuanced Flavorah tobaccos like Tatanka, Red Burley, Kentucky, and Virginia are all really excellent tobaccos, but they're all dark. They're really, really dark. Like almost wet pipe tobacco, and cured tobacco really adds that brighter bits to the top end of it. And I get a faint, kind of very faint, like almost hay note to it, but it's not aggressive at all.
I like their native tobacco quite a bit, but it's probably interchangeable with the Kentucky blend. It seems fairly similar.
They're similar. They're both pretty spicy.
Yeah. I feel like the native tobacco is maybe just a bit dirtier, and I like that.
You know, Apexify, that's a good question. Maybe I'll ask him that later. D Million, yeah, we got ours direct. The Decadent Vapors.
Yeah, we got them shipped over.
We got a bulk thing going on.
We fancy. Let's see, what else do they have? Their Cavendish is kind of funky.
I don't know how to describe it.
It's good funky if you're into it, but it also has like one of those like really like interesting like ammonia heavy kind of room notes, so it's a little hard to vape around other people, but it's fruitier and kind of like has a sour fermented fruit thing along with the dark tobacco thing.
Yeah, and if you're kind of a sadist, or a masochist, depending on how you look at it. I really like their Arabian as well. It is aggressive and spicy as fuck, and really, 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 really strong. So it's another dilute to 10%.
Yeah, it's better for like that whole like camel kind of additive thing that like you see in some of the tobaccos. Like it has that grassy Arabian note, and it works better as an additive than like a single tobacco flavor.
Definitely. And their Turkish works that way too, but maybe to a less aggressive degree. And then go ahead.
I was going to say their Connecticut Shade is a really interesting flavor. It's like more of a cigar wrapper kind of flavor. It has some very distinct kind of coffee, chocolatey notes to it. It's, again, very strong, and it works really well in stacking with other tobaccos, but it can be kind of challenging to use on its own unless you're looking for that coffee or chocolatey note.
Definitely. And then a quick shout out to those folks that are actually trying to chase nasty Marlboro flavors. Sweet cigarette and commercial cigarette, I personally believe, are fucking horrible and disgusting and shouldn't exist. However, they are pretty accurate to a fresh cigarette. So you get or to an actual cigarette, you get a bit of the burnt ash, you get a bit of that nasty kind of ashtray thing going on, and a really bright, cheap ass, dry as fuck tobacco. It's not my cup of tea at all, but they are very accurate to the name.
And classic cigarette instead of commercial and sweet cigarette.
I don't think I've tried classic.
The classic cigarette is basically their dirty neutral base. Like it's all ash.
I don't know if I actually even have it. I'm sure I have it. I just don't think I don't know if I ever tried it.
Yeah, it's a good alternative for like dirty neutral base. It's maybe a little bit less grassy and more ashy, but it's straight up ash in a bottle. Like smoked cigarette ash, not like fun sweet hay ash. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. And then pucker tobacco
is an additive to make tobacco a little bit sour, kind of make it like hit in a very specific way.
It's weird. I think it's interesting. I haven't found a home for it yet. In like a finished recipe. Sometimes I fuck around with it when I'm bored. I've never had a bad result from it, but it's like, I'm not sure how else to describe it. I think if you were to do it in like an apple tobacco recipe to like bring out more tartness that the tobacco is going to fuck around with, that might be pretty interesting, but I just haven't gone there yet. I think there's a potential there, but.
Coke Can actually used it in his IPA smoke recipe for specifically that, to bring out like the brighter notes up against a tobacco.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there, but I haven't got there yet. That's all.
I haven't messed around much with the Turkish. How different is the Turkish from the Oriental?
It's a little, I don't know, it's a little drier, and I don't know, it's not that much different really. Like they smell pretty similar, they taste pretty similar. I don't think a whole lot either.
Their Tadanka tobacco, I've heard it like called chewing tobacco. It seems like a kind of a wet, moist tobacco that's going to be better for like RY4s. It has a fairly robust kind of tobacco flavor without necessarily being too ashy or dirty.
Yeah, and then yeah, I don't know. It's kind of spicy too. I get a bit of spice from Tadanka.
Yeah, I think it's a good jumping off point for dessert tobaccos that still taste like tobacco.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely a good jumping off point if you're going to build your own RY4, or you're going with like a fucking cookie dough, apple pie filling, what the fuck ever. Like Tadanka is where you want to start, not Red Burley. Red Burley is almost always where I start just because it's so easy. But I know it's a cheat mode or whatever, lazy mixer. I don't give a fuck, man. It's good. It's really good, and I vape the shit out of it all the time.
Yeah, Flavorah tobacco is absolutely worth it. Like I think Flavorah gets credit for it, but just to heap more credit on it, like their tobaccos just straight up murdered everything else out of the gates.
Yeah, I mean, Inawera's absolutes are really stellar and they're really good, but they're hard to get in a reasonable quantity for even the same price point because they're just as, if not more expensive than Flavorah's. And Flavorah's are just more consistent and they're easier to get a hold of, and they're really good.
Just came in and bodied the game, and they aren't as dirty as some of the Inawera tobaccos either.
I think I can appreciate that more though, because it makes them easier to work with.
Yeah.
I can add the dirty back in with their cigarette flavors if I want to, or with like pucker or something like that, right? But I don't have to. With anywhere, you kind of you're stuck with it, which is fine if you like that kind of thing. But
yeah, they actually just made, like, as somebody who was scared of tobacco flavors, getting into the Flavorah tobaccos kind of opened that up to me because they have so many like tobacco flavors that work like normal flavors that you don't have to like worry that everything's going to taste like dirty grass.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I wasn't necessarily afraid of tobacco flavors when I started working with Flavorahs, but I was kind of burned out on what was commercially available at the time because a lot of them were more geared towards like building around like classic burnt tobacco flavoring, right? Like
a bunch of old heads with their tabs.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, which it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but wasn't really my cup of tea at the time. And that kind of goes and comes and goes depending on, I don't know, how much stress I'm under, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I guess I just appreciated the ability to use tobacco as a flavoring in a more complex juice and not turn the juice into a tobacco juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can go a lot more different directions, I think, with Flavorah tobaccos than you can anywhere else. So
Yeah.
shout out to Bryson and Brendan and all of their flavor monkeys.
One of their new flavors coming out is going to be a sweet and smoky tobacco, which was their take on a Latakia tobacco, and I think it's pretty fucking tasty. It's sweet, it's smoky. They could just call it Latakia, but whatever. We're cool.
Well, so it's Latakia is actually like typically really, really dry. You know, I think that I mean, in terms of authenticity, it didn't really come across as a really strong Latakia, but that sweet smokiness is really, really super excellent. I think it's really cool, and I'm really excited about it. Super excited. I think it's going to be my new like kind of like approach to instead of using Blackfire for literally everything.
Yeah, the smoke note in that's really good, and it kind of almost tastes like their sweet cigarette, but with like a little bit more actual wood fire to it.
Yeah, I get a definitely like kind of campfire-y vibe from it. So it's almost like if I wanted to build like a real smoky s'mores, like that's probably where I would go now instead.
They're coming out with a really, really good they're coming out with a really good gin. I think it's juniper gin.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely stellar. It's really good, and it comes also with the back bar bitters. It's going to be released coinciding that, which I think is a really excellent like bitters / bordering on vermouth kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, it's good. I've been like trying to hack Shisha Punch from Inawera into a bitters forever because it has some of the spice note right, but what their back bar bitters does right is it really has the right kind of like dried citrus note. It has the right like gentian kind of spiciness to it. It's just all around an excellent flavor.
And the really cool thing about it so far is that I've been able to coax out peel flavorings with it in the fruit blends. Like, so if you really want like a legit orange or lemon rind, like the actual lemon peel, like on the edge of a cocktail glass or something like that, like it can really kind of drag that out of you. I think it's really cool shit. I'm super pumped about it.
I think we're in trouble.
What? Why? Is Alfred sad? Did he ask a question?
Oh, okay. So they're apparently still working on a Latakia, which may come out later, but this one is absolutely delicious anyway. So, yeah. But yeah, the sweet and smoky tobacco, I don't care what it was based on originally. It's like their sweet cigarette with some actual campfire notes to it. It's delicious.
Oh, okay. My bad. I just got that too. All right.
We're always in trouble. Yeah, so I guess that kind of wraps up our like go around of the Flavorah stuff on this iteration anyway. We're always happy to answer more questions about it or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, good. Any last minute questions? We got a few more minutes. Send me free stuff. Nice, Rusty. Send it to me now instead. Whatever it was.
I'll make sure it gets to Rusty.
I'll vape it from here and eventually the cloud will reach to wherever Rusty is.
Yeah, I think that's my thing about Flavorah. Like when we're saying that some of this stuff is good, some of like Flavorah literally makes some flavors that you cannot get anywhere else. They're just absolutely irreplaceable.
Absolutely. Yeah, their entry into the market, it changed the game for me big time. They got a ton of stuff that you can't get anywhere else. And the thing I like the most about Flavorah is when they approach something new, they make an effort to make sure that it's something that's more interesting and hasn't been done before. So, yeah, I can really appreciate it. It's fucking rock solid.
Yakima hops all the way, my dude.
Pink guava forever. Forever and ever.
Fucking boysenberry. There we go.
Terry, not today. I don't usually do giveaways on the show just because it's really difficult to do live. I need to install like a Nightbot and all that shit to help me manage it because it's a pain in the ass to figure out how to pull one off live without it coming across as somebody being like,
So I have relevant information. Apparently, public release on some of these new flavors. So back bar bitters, the juniper gin, that sweet and smoky tobacco. Their release is set for March 1st for public. So there we go.
There you go. We'll talk about them. If you guys have questions about them in the meantime, you can holler at us. But March 1st, look out for that gin and get it right away.
Back bar bitters, baby.
Don't buy all of it because I'm going to need some. Okay, so
hit those back bars. Let's go.
All right. I probably have enough bitters to last, but don't fuck with that gin, okay? Buy it all the third day it comes out so that I can get a chance to get in there and watch it.
Let's end this.
Have a great night, everybody. Fantastic. Next week, we will...
Vape Train?
Yeah, let's do Vape Train next week.
Okay, yeah. Next review show is going to be Vape Train.
I'm still behind my Vape Train testing, but I'll lean on you. It'll be all right.
I am a very large man. You can lean on me all you need to.
Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.